Welcome back to the Vitamin B podcast, and we have a very dynamic guest with us today. Craig has an absolutely inspiring background as he was making $8 an hour trying to raise a child, had to almost go bankrupt because he had nothing, and he had a can of tuna in his fridge and a box of mac and cheese while he had to borrow $100 from his mom to pay the electrical bill. And sales is what saved his life. So we're going to talk a little bit how to dominate and master sales. And he later on went on to becoming a amazing staple in the real estate business. He grew up the ranks in sales and marketing. He became the head of one of the largest luxury car dealerships in the world for 6 years, broke numerous records, and now he has built and scaled a multi-million-dollar real estate company, and he built it from nothing. So I'm so excited to hear your story and for you to share with us exactly how you did it. Why don't you tell us a little bit of your journey?
Thanks, Brittany. I really appreciate that. Great intro. So yeah, like we were talking earlier, for me, it started, when you go back to the beginning, when I had my first son and he was about 6 months old, I was working for a sewer and drain company. I was basically the detailer for the pump trucks, the trucks that pump the sewerage. So I
Yeah.
had to clean those pump trucks, and so I was making about $8 an hour. I think it was actually $7.75 to be exact, but I got free gas, so I used to be able to pump gas into my car. So I thought that was a huge benefit at the time. But when it got to a point where the bills came due, and I just didn't have enough money, I was out of cash, and my ex-wife, my wife at the time, had to get a job. And she finally had got the job. We just couldn't pay the bills. The bills were getting paid. And I do remember getting to that point where it was a can of tuna in the cabinet and a box of macaroni and cheese. Like, that's the visual that I have, because that's all I had left. That, I think, water. And I knew that, my wife at the time said, hey, the electric bills due, and we're out of money. Like, there's nothing. And I just remember that day, and I don't know if it was like a higher power or somebody told my mom, because I hadn't even told her anything. She literally knocked on my door later that night, and I remember she brought me the $100 bill, and she's like, I don't know why, but I feel like you just needed this, so here it is. So she brought me $100 bill, and that
Wow.
actually, I don't know if my light bill was like 86 bucks or something at the time. I don't really remember, but those are like the memories that I have of being completely broke and like, what am I going to do? The stress of, here I am, a young man, uh, that has a young child and needs to figure it out, man up, and raise the capital to like fund my household. So, but the big change, like the first sort of epiphany for me, was when my uncle, who worked at a car dealership at the time, he was a finance manager. He came to visit me because I think he had heard from my mom that things were tough. So, and he was always a mentor of mine. He came by to see me, and we had a conversation. And I had heard that salespeople in the car business make pretty good money. It's 100% commission, but they make pretty good money. And so I asked him, I said, do you think that I could make money? Do you think I could sell cars? And he said, yeah, I think you could do it. You're going to need to get some training, but sure, why not? You got a good attitude, personality.
Yeah.
I said, well, do you think I can make some money? And he says, look, you're making like $8 an hour now. He says, I guarantee, this word stuck with me clear as day. Remember it like it was yesterday. It was a long time ago. He says, Craig, if you sell cars, I guarantee you'll make at least double what you're making now. So I was like, whoa,
Wow.
okay, that's a life changer for me. I'll make at least $16 an hour or something like that.
Yeah.
And so when he said that, I'm like, I'm in. Whatever
Like,
it
I'm
takes.
in. What do I need to do? Sign my
I'll
name
do
away?
what, I don't care what I gotta do. I will
Yeah.
do it. Let's make it happen. He says, okay, well, hold on now. Like, hold your horses. You're not going to just get that. First off, I can't hire you because that's the general manager's job, but I'll set you up to get the job.
Yeah.
I'm gonna mentor you for 2 weeks. He didn't even mentor me. He gave me these audio tapes or audio CDs. He said, I want you, it was like 12 of them. He says, I want you to listen to these CDs. So goes to show how far back this was. And listen to them. And he didn't say master, but he says, figure it out. like learn from these coaching uh, audios. And in 2 weeks, I'm going to come back and test you.
Yeah.
And if you pass the test, then I'll know you'll make me look good. I'll put you in front of the general manager and then you can interview with him. I
Wow.
listened to those tapes day and night, over. And I must have listened to the 10 tapes or CDs or whatever, dating myself for sure when I say tapes. But I listened to these audio booklets probably like 5 or 6 times over and
Yeah.
over and over again in 2 weeks. And I'm like, I'm gonna get this because I needed to make the money.
Yeah.
It wasn't a want, it was an absolute have to.
Yeah, it was make it or break it for you at that point in your life.
Absolutely. So yeah, he came back. He says, "Man, you know, he asked me a bunch of questions. I answered all of them perfectly." He says, "Okay,
Yeah.
I'll put you in front of the general manager." So I get in front of the general manager. This guy's like a tough hard ass. You know, he's looking at me and he's like, "Oh, what do you got? You got no experience, you know, this, that." He says, "Look, you're lucky you know him because back then, I guess at that particular dealership, they only like to hire experienced people, people that have been doing it, right?" So, so basically, he gave me a shot, gave me a chance. I was on the sales floor with a bunch of like former used car managers and general managers. They were all older school veterans, and I was the only rookie. And
Yeah.
so the first month, I was getting slapped around left and right by these guys. They were nothing but trying to demotivate me, tell me, "Kid, you're not going to make it. Kid, you're working too hard. This is not how you do it." They were stealing my customers. I was just literally getting slapped around. And I remember it was week 3. I was in my 3rd week. I was going into my 4th week. I hadn't sold a single car. I worked my freaking ass off. I talked to as many people as I could. I got phone ups, they called it, you know, what they call it, phone ups, when a phone call comes in and you grab it really quickly and you're fighting against 20 other salespeople to get to the phone. And I'd be the first one there and I'd get the appointment, but I just couldn't make a sale.
Yeah.
So I went to my uncle and I remember, here's another visual that just kind of really sticks with me. There was a lot attendant. He was the manager of the lot and I would see him and he was kind of like a big shot to people for whatever reason. And I heard that he had made $500 a week salary, right? I had made zero because I got a draw, but I was owing the company money because I hadn't sold anything. So I saw this lot manager drive by and I'm like, you know what? He's pretty lucky, man. He's making $2,000 a month, solid, guaranteed every month, 500 a week, man. I'm like, I can't sell cars, man. I got to pay my bills. It's not working. Went to my uncle. I said, "Look, man, this is not working out. I said, I haven't made any money." He says, "Look, stick with it. Before you let a customer leave the dealership, make sure I talk to them. That's the TO. Take the TO, take the turnover. Is give me the turnover before you let them leave." And that's what I did. And finally, on my 4th week, I sold one car, but
Wow.
it was a mini deal. It was a $50 commission.
Oh
So
my gosh.
yeah, yeah. I sold a Pontiac. I'm dating myself again. The Pontiac Sunfire. Okay, terrible car,
How come
junk.
you only made $50?
Because if you didn't make profit on the deal, if the dealership had to give it away a little bit, they cut the price down. Then
Oh.
they would give you what they would call a minimum commission. And every one of those cars that had
Mm.
no markup, they didn't mark up these lower end cars, so you couldn't make any money anyway. So it was just like no possible. The way it was designed, the dealership made money. You didn't make any money. So I made $50. I'm like, look, I mean, I sold my first car, so I had a little motivation there, even though I made nothing. So I did decide to stick it out for the rest of the month. I think I sold one more car,
Mhm.
and then I had to sit down with him again. He had to remotivate me because I was getting ready to quit. Like I was like, I'm quitting. I'm going to go get a $500 a week, steady, secure, stable lot manager job. Just drive cars back and forth, park them and clean them and do that whole thing.
Yeah.
And so I stuck it through the second month, and I actually was salesperson of the month the second month. I think
Wow.
I sold about 15 cars. Um,
No.
yeah, sold 15 cars the second month, and I was salesman of the year that year. I started in
How
February. Yeah, I just worked
how did you do that?
so I just stuck with it. I had to fight through so much negativity on a showroom floor with veterans that have just been doing it forever. I don't know if you could kind of picture like, I don't know, 1980s and 1990s, like old school car salespeople, or they're just the environment is just super negative. But I really just I stuck with it. I just kept doing I kept working on mastering who my client was, and we were talking about that earlier. You figure out what is it my client needs and how can I deliver them the absolute best service and do exactly what I say I'm going to do and do it quicker and do it faster. And I was setting up a bunch of appointments, and I just really I listened to my coaches because I had managers that were coaching me. Those are about the only ones that were on my side, because once you start selling cars, then you become a likable guy to your managers because you're making them look good now, you know? So
Yeah.
they started liking me because I was selling cars, and I just kept building that relationship with those managers, and I just kept working my ass off. And I really, look, I didn't have the experience, but I did outwork everybody. And that was the way that I was able to become a salesperson about that second month, from literally almost quitting. So that was that was the shift.
So I'm curious, what, like, I feel, I might be wrong, but I feel like one of the biggest things that really would have had to shift from you going and selling a couple cars to quadrupling that is mindset
Yes.
and confidence. Like, what was that shift in your confidence and your mindset to be able to do that?
So I had that mentor, which was my uncle. He was in every positivity book you could think of. He was always reading how to elevate his mindset, how to the Think and Grow Rich and the power of the subconscious mind. And he started kind of turning me on to these different books and these different authors that just had an elevated mindset, that they were always focused on winning, focused on growth. And so because having the right mentor saved me, because when I was ready to give up and quit, he just talked me out of it and say, look, there's a better way. You can do this. Stay away from the negativity, stay away from the guys out in the front that are smoking the cigarettes and they're drinking the coffee and talking crap about how the market sucks and business is bad. He told me this one thing. And another thing that stuck with, he said, business is either good or bad between your own two ears. That's where it matters. So I would end up being, the dealership would sell like 3 cars in a day, and it would be a bad day, and I would have sold 2 of them. So I might do 60 or 70% of the dealership might do 7 cars. I might do 3. So I was focused on constantly just keeping my mind right, thinking the right thoughts, staying positive, not paying attention to the negativity, staying away from the what they would call it, I forget what they called it, but it was probably a name that probably won't want to mention in the podcast anyway, but they called them a certain type of people. And so I just stayed away from them, and I was all alone. I was solo at the dealership. I focused on me, my work. I zoned in, and I just stayed away from that crap. And it was the hard work and that mentoring, staying motivated, keeping myself pumped up was really the key to making that happen.
Awesome. So what has been, you came from nothing, and I was so captivated by that story. I was like on the edge of my seat being like, what's going to happen next? And I think that's the beauty. And I think that's the best part for the listeners, is to really understand that. And I was thinking about this today. I was like, I went through some serious shit. Like I don't wish the pain and suffering upon anyone. And I was like, wow, I just shifted out of that. It was a simple mindset shift. It was a little gradual. It took me a couple months to get out of it, but when I was actually driving, I specifically remember this one time I was driving home from my parents, and this song came on, and I just started like bawling my eyes out, because I'm like, whatever happened to me being so happy? Like, when did I allow the stress and anxiety to absolutely consume my thoughts, to where I just lost this vibrancy that I had in life for so long, and I had it for my entire life. And so, I mean, it was a very interesting experience, because it was from that moment that I remembered being like, I miss being so genuinely happy all the time. Mm-hmm. All the time. Yes. I've always been a very happy, optimistic, positive person. And so it was just a shift for me. And so I was thinking about it today, and ever since that one song and that moment of clarity and decision,
Yes.
I made a decision and a commitment that I was not going to allow anxiety to run my life anymore. And ever since that moment, I've been back to myself, and I've been amazing and happy and stress-free and just loving life and super positive and super optimistic and like super excited for what's next instead of worrying about what's next. And so it's such a beautiful reminder that at any moment you can shift everything
So
and
powerful.
live a completely different life, live a completely different mindset. And when you're telling that story, I was like, but he was only making $6 an hour. Like, so many people equate self-worth to the amount of money that we make.
That's right.
And so it was like, oh, how did he go from making $6 an hour to building a 7-figure real estate business? And it's really that. It's that there's hope in everything. At
That's right.
any moment, you can shift. At any moment, the world can change and your perspective can change. And you can just become a new version of who you are. And so what was that shift for you exactly?
So, well, I had a need, and just kind of to tag on what you said, it's that decision that you made, man, is everything. I just believe that people don't realize that they can just make a decision, that you're not controlled by your thoughts. You can control your thoughts. You can take charge and take control over them. And as a man thinketh, so they become, that book from James Allen, As a Man Thinketh, right? So I just think that that's like the whole thing right there, is what's going on in my thoughts, like the thought patterns. The shift for me was to stop thinking negatively, to stop thinking that having a $500 a week lot attendance job is all that I can handle right now, or all that I'm worth, and change and shift and start to become a believer in what I could accomplish, like setting out the goals, setting out the dreams. And that was another thing that my mentor taught me back then was, write those goals down and look at them, and imagine yourself being in that moment of what you want. Imagine yourself driving that car that you want. I remember my first set of goals that I ever wrote down. I wrote down 10 goals. I remember in the year, at the end of the second year, these were like longer term goals, I had accomplished 7 of them. And I didn't even
Wow.
realize that I accomplished. So one time I pulled out the pad and I looked at them and I said, whoa, I already had the BMW that I wanted. I had all these cool things. And I realized that it's so subconscious, when you set that vision and you get the thinking right, your life is just changing right before your very eyes. But it does start with that decision, and just constantly elevating those thought patterns. What's going on in your head? Like what are you limiting yourself in your own mind? Is the only limitation is that with which you're believing yourself that you have.
Well, and I think that's exactly it. It's what are you choosing? And I think this is one of the most powerful truths to understand, and that is that life is just a big game of perception.
Oh yes.
I mean, somebody once said this once, and it changed my life, because I came from a very challenged childhood. I had this sob story. Like, if you guys are following me on Instagram, which, by the way, y'all better be following us, and feel free to reach out to Craig and give him a follow. His Instagram is The Real Flip Boss, and mine is Brittany Michaelchuk at BrittanyMichaelchuk. We're going to put that in the show notes as well. But this perspective and this quote changed my life, and it was like, you choose your parents. And I remember I was arguing with this person. I'm like, no, you don't. So if you guys follow me on Instagram, me and my dad have the most special, amazing relationship now. He's my best friend, but it wasn't always like that. And so I used to have a lot of resentment towards him when I was younger, because he worked a lot. And so I was like, no, like, I didn't choose for my dad to be working all the time. And they're like, yeah, no, you choose your parents. You choose your perspective in life. You choose your level of happiness. You choose your level of misery.
Mhm.
And so it's just, everything is just a big game of perception. And so I think it really boils down to how much mental discipline do you have to be able to control your perspective.
Absolutely.
What do you think about that? Like, how does somebody control their perspective to create the happiness and success that they've always desired?
Well, I got to just tell you what first came to my mind as you're saying that, because maybe I feel that that might be bring the most value to this. But I was just talking to one of my team members, and I said, let's prepare. The problem is going to happen when you're getting all pumped up and excited and motivated, and you're kind of feeling that mojo. Now you're like, things are rocking, and I have a better attitude today. I'm going to make things happen. What I also like to do is like say to myself, okay, but if it doesn't happen, what am I going to do about it? So if the worst case, if I invest in a real estate project, my best case scenario is I'm going to make this amount of money. And if I don't, I'm just going to make an average profit. And my worst case scenario is I'm going to make nothing or maybe lose. Thank God I never lose, but that's how we're able to have a good business. But what I like to think about sometimes, or most of the time, is okay, if the worst case does happen, what am I going to do about it? And decide now while I'm in this great state. And so that I can remember that when that worst case scenario does happen, because life happens, relationships break apart, businesses fail, projects turn into big losses, life just happens.
Yeah.
What's the decision in this great state of mind that I am in right now, this positive state of mind? I'm believing everything's going to happen. Everything great's going to happen. What's the decision? What are my actions that I'm going to take when this worst case scenario happens? And I'm saying it with the same mindset, not emotional because the whole world fall apart because of whatever it was that happened. And so I decide on what that decision is. And then if the worst case scenario is, okay, I already talked to myself.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I already had the
I already had
conversation.
a pep talk,
Yeah.
guys. I'm
And
good.
we knew that this was a possibility. And if this possibility, worst case scenario happens, this was the game plan. I'm going to handle it like this, and like this. And so it's just it's an awareness thing for me. And so that's how I'm able to, through the ups and downs. It's one of the things, not that, we're always going to go through ups and downs, obviously, especially as an entrepreneur, man. It can be super tough and it's super hard work.
It's
Uh,
really hard.
yeah. But preparing what am I going to do in advance has really been helpful for me in that, from that perspective.
I love that. And do you want to know, when you were saying that, something came to my mind, and it was that nothing is ever really that fucking
Mm-hmm.
bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, nothing is that bad. Like, you're freaking out because your client wants their money back. Who cares?
Give it to them.
Give them their money back. It's not going to matter in a year from now. It's
Right.
not going to matter. It's your client is pissed off with you because you did something wrong. Guess what? It's so cliche to say this, but we all make mistakes. None of us are perfect, but it's so true.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like people, they fixate on like this worst case scenario and what if, and it's like, but who cares? Like, it really is not as big of a deal as you make it out to be in your own mind. And so it's just like looking back, like how many of the things that used to stress you out 3 years ago are things that you even remember now. And it's really putting into perspective how little it matters, and how what really matters is focusing on being happy, and focusing on building a legacy, and focusing on being a good person, and living in integrity, and helping others, and all that, because that's what the juice of life is. That's really what makes it. I mean, when not everybody lives, but everybody dies. And so how are you going to really live an amazing life while you're here on earth is the question that we should be asking ourselves every single day, not worrying about the gossip, not worrying about the, getting so obliviated out of our mind that we can't function, and not focusing on things that are going to pull us back, and surrounding ourselves by toxic people. But it's like, what can we do today to become the best version of ourselves?
Sounds like you just talked about, having gratitude, right? It seems to be the power booster of life. And you get up in the morning and just say, you know what, I'm just grateful that I woke up and I was able to breathe in a fresh breath of air. And let's start there. Now, what can I do to make my day greater? And it's so much, it's all between your 2 years. Business is going to be good or bad in that arena right there. And what is your choice? We have a choice. We just people think that, oh, I have this issue. In the office sometimes you see people come into work in the morning and they're just all twisted up about the fight that they got into with their spouse or their mom or their dad. That's going to happen, but it's really going to, what you're going to bring in value to yourself and to your business is going to be how you said it earlier. Perception is going to be, how are you going to perceive it? How are you going to decide to take it? Because it's
Yeah.
always going to be a decision of how you're going to take it.
Yeah, that's it. It's always a decision. It's always a decision of what you're going to feel in that moment. So I want to shift gears a little bit into sales and marketing.
Sure. Love it.
So how does sales and marketing work? Like, how do you become successful in sales and be able to sell good products to good people?
Well, good. I think you just said a lot right there when you said good products. You're always hearing believing in your product. And the first thing that I will say is when I first got into car sales, I was selling a crap product.
Yeah.
Sorry to say, but it was Pontiac's just, I was looking at the technology that they had. They had the same problem. They would have the same problem for 10 years. They would have this little sort of like paper holder, rubber band thing on the top of on the top of the car. And so what would happen is it would just wear down and it would start to hang. And it was the same problem. Like how was it for 10 years? You would have that same, why would you have fixed that problem? We knew that the 10-year older version had that problem, the 9-year-old version, the 7-year. How did we keep developing that type of a product?
Yeah.
And so I knew I was selling a crap product, and that's why I ended up moving over into Toyota and Lexus. So for me, like with sales, like the first thing I think about is, what is your product? What is it that you're selling? Like when we're sitting here having a conversation, I believe Brittany and Craig are thinking, well, how can we bring value in this conversation
Yes.
to someone that's listening? I think remembering and focusing on the fact that, hey, I have to remind myself too sometimes, wait, is that content bringing value? So is your
Mhm.
product bringing value? And do you believe in it? Because if you believe in the product, you're going to sell it. Now, I was selling these Pontiacs, even though I wasn't believing it. That was just like sheer hard work. So you can
Yeah.
sell some products that are not good quality products. But when you believe in a product, man, it's just powerful. It gives you energy. And the other thing that I would say is like, know your client. One of the things that's been a big thing that we've been talking about in the office is mastering who our client is. So I had one of our buyers. We do a lot of buy, fix, flip, buy, flipping over to investors, a lot of real estate transactions. And so, I actually bought one of our best buyers in the other day into our sales meeting. And I said, okay, ask away. We want to know, what does it take to sell you? And the first thing, and he was one of our best buyers. He flips, I don't know, 20, 30 houses a year. He said, know what you're talking about when you talk to me. Don't call me and waste my time. I know what I'm looking for. I know what I want. You should
Mm.
know what I want. And don't try to sell me on something that I don't want. Respect my time and I'll buy from you. But you need to know everything. If I ask a question, have an answer, have it quickly.
Yeah.
So, really mastering what your client wants and needs, only focus on delivering them only what they want, not shoving garbage down a client's throat just because you can make money. Show them a quality product that you believe in, that they would want, and know how to deal with them by knowing what are the questions they're going to ask and have those questions ready to go. So I would say to my salespeople, sometimes I'll ask them, my salespeople, say, okay, tell me about this property here that we have for sale. Well, I haven't yet done the research. Okay. You need to know everything about that property. You're
Yes.
not selling anything until you're like a master of that project. Because
Yes.
and I'm a buyer too. So when I get these calls, I'm listening to some of them, and I listen to some and I'm like, wow, that was great. You made me want to buy this product because you know everything about it. You're answering my questions quick. I feel like you're a person of integrity. So I become a believer in the salesperson and in the product, and I want to pull the trigger. But the moment you start hemming and hawing because you really don't know what you're talking about, why are you wasting my time? So it's
Yeah.
exactly what I'm about. Don't waste my time with a product that you don't even know about. How are you going to sell me something that you don't know? So that's like been the big thing for us is we want to master our product. We want to master our clients' needs. And if you do just that, you don't even have to be that much of a closer or a strong salesperson. You just got to like have the knowledge, like know what you're doing, what you're talking about. And those two things right there will get any salesperson really far in any product that they're selling.
I love that so much because I always talk about this in my mastermind. I have a mastermind that helps people grow and monetize their business online. And so it's all like coaches and entrepreneurs. And so they're selling knowledge, they're selling inspiration, they're selling their consulting, their coaching, their mastery. And I'm like, guys, I can teach you all of the sales and marketing and branding and social media hacks and Instagram algorithm tips. But if you don't actually add value with what you are doing, you don't have this massive skill set of success of being a powerful coach or a entrepreneur that provides value and solves people's pain points, good luck.
Exactly.
It's going to be very, very, very hard. And so I just talk about mastery a lot because that's what it's about. I mean, I think it's two components. It's mastery of one's craft, and then also how do you brand and sell your finished product, if they're ideas or if it's a course or it's a book or whatever. And so I absolutely love that. So what else can people do to become successful in marketing and sales?
Well, I think in marketing, when I think about marketing first, I think about making sure that, and it's a very simple, old school type of saying, and I learned this very, very early on. Everyone that you know and everyone that you get into contact should know what you do, what you sell, what your product is. That's like
Yes.
step one, because I find sometimes that some of our salespeople, or salespeople in general that I've seen over the years, have family members don't even know that they're selling this product. They're selling cars or they're selling real. How does a family member not know
Yes,
that you're?
thank you.
Everybody needs to know that I flip, I buy. I'm a buyer of real estate. I like to invest in business every now and again. I sell real estate. Like, I'm the guy to go to. I am your go-to. I learned this from Jay Abraham. He says, become an authority in your field. Like, focus to be a master, an expert, the go-to guy. So if anyone, and this is what I tell them in the sales team, I said, if anyone wants to buy real estate, they should know that you are the absolute master.
Yes.
You're the best guy to go to. It should be on your personal Instagram, your face. If you really want to be a successful salesperson and you want to market, of course,
Oh,
if you don't have the
badly.
desire, but if you really have the desire, everyone on earth should know, technically, if you can make that happen. And, obviously get on every single social media, platform that you can, and just expand, be out there, constantly talk good about your product. I mean, it starts, I believe, right there. Everyone should know and needs to know what you do, and being a believer in it, they should see, man, he must sell a superior product because he's always bragging about it. Everyone he knows is always talking about it. Those salespeople that I notice, and one other thing I'll add to that, availability. I've noticed the top salespeople, I've run into salespeople that were making more than their managers, and many car dealerships as an example, and in other sales type of businesses like insurance and real estate. I met salespeople that were making double and triple what their managers were making. And the one common denominator I kept finding is they were always the most available people. They were always around and ready and available to serve and sell. They usually were the first people in and the last people out. They were the people working on their day off, coming in to work and deliver a new vehicle or sell a new product. They were always available there. I would look at their phones, because I used to really measure this when I ran the largest luxury dealership years ago. I was always looking at my top guys and saying, what are you guys doing, man? These guys selling 30, 40 cars, right? And I'd look at their phone, and they would just had so many incoming and so many outgoing phone calls. They were just relentless in putting in the work.
Yes.
And that's really it. You really can be super successful if you can just find an industry that you like, that has a good product that you can sell, and just work your ass off and do all of the things that successful people do. And that kind of leads into my 7 steps that we talked about. If you want me to, I can talk about that. when I talk about 7 steps or 7 stages to success, it's just my opinion based on my experience, is that once you get the information, the knowledge, the training, maybe, if you wanted to be, a master social media influencer, you might want to buy Brittany's courses because she's a master at that. So I would get her mentoring, her knowledge, buy her products. And then once I get the information, I'm going to put super hard levels of work into. I'm going to apply now the knowledge, right?
Yes.
Because like the second step, so many people miss it, right? From getting schooled, going to classes, taking courses. And then there's this then 90 something percent drops off when it comes to like actually doing it now, right? So I'm going to get Brittany's mentorship, and then I'm going to go to work. I'm going to set the goals. I'm going to write them down. I'm going to take action on them. And
Yeah.
I love this statement. I'd say massive repetitive action.
I love that.
Taking and what I believe taking massive repetitive actions are finding out what works and doing it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Beating it to death or to life. We're beating it to life, right? And so after we take these massive action steps, you're going to start to get results. And as you get those results, and that's kind of like my stage 3, right? After you start getting results, you're going to sell that first car.
Yeah, can you break down the 7 steps for us?
Sure. So I believe in getting a mentor, or
so
getting
step number 1. So these are 7 steps for success.
Yes. So I would say get a mentor or get training, take an online course, get the knowledge, right? So getting a mentor or getting the knowledge. Second step for me is take massive repetitive actions. Okay. My third step is getting the results, because getting results, getting that first sale is part of it. And then my fourth is confidence. You start to gain confidence when you get that results. And when you gain confidence, this is where the rubber meets the road, so to speak, is you become a believer in what you're doing. And once you become a believer in what you're doing, the game starts to change. And that leads into my 5th step, which is innovation. Because we're living in a world that things are changing every day. Technology is moving fast. How do I innovate my client? How do I innovate my product? How do I innovate my marketing? So we're constantly looking to do better. We're not doing what we did last year. In many cases, we're not doing in our business what we did last month, because our buyers may have shifted, the market may have shifted, things may have changed. You may be selling a different product than you were selling last month. So you're constantly innovating. Your clients are telling you things and you're listening to them, hopefully. Yeah. And you're making the shift because your clients are telling you, hey, I don't really like that product, but I really like when you said this or did this, or I like this real estate property. So we're innovating our business with marketing, with sales, and how we're dealing with our clients. And then my 6th stage is scaling your business. I'm a big believer in scaling your business because that gives us the opportunity to grow. And if you're a serial entrepreneur, you want to build more business. You want to bring more value. I love bringing value to people. So I want to bring more value. Our focus is to go national with our real estate investment company. We're in the state of Florida now. We're basically in 3 markets in Florida, which is South Florida, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, Tampa. But we want to get into Texas. We want to get into different states. So how we do that is by innovating and then scaling, which is my 6th step, scale or stage. Scale our business. And then step 7, repeat. We go right back up to the top again and start focusing on getting more knowledge, more actions, more results, more confidence and belief, innovating, scaling, on and on and on. It's like a circle.
I love that. That is so powerful. That alone is the 7 steps that you used to go from $8 an hour to multiple 7 figures in your business. And that's amazing. And there's so many yeses about what you just said. And one of them was you talked about what it really takes to be successful in business. And that is every single person knowing who you are, what value you provide, and what you do. Because sales and marketing is a numbers game. Clients are a numbers game. If you tell 5 people about your product or service, the chance of you getting all 5 people are extremely low. At a 10, let's say, at a 10% rate, you're going to get like a couple people, right? Less. But if you have 100 people that you're telling about your product or service to, and you have a 10% conversion rate, you're going to get 10 people just by sheer numbers. And so that's my big thing. And that's one of the biggest secrets for my success, how we've had over 100 people sign up for the mastermind in a sheer couple of months, doing absolutely zero paid advertisement, all organic
Wonderful.
people.
Mm.
And it's being everywhere. And so I like to call it the divine law of omnipresence. And I wanted to read you guys the definition of omnipresence. And this is what you were talking about, is it's widely or consistently encountered. It's very common or widespread. Omnipresence refers to the quality of being present everywhere, spread across so many areas across the internet and increasing your presence. So that's omnipresence online. And that's just one of the most crucial and important aspects to business. And so how do you become omnipresent? Like, how do you have that confidence? Because I think that, and I know just coaching hundreds, thousands of people over the last decade. I started coaching when I first graduated university. I knew it was my calling and passion in life, almost a decade. And so I was like, I love figuring out mindsets and figuring out how people think and why they do the things they do. And one of the biggest things that holds people back is fear. And one of people's biggest fears is fear of what people think. And that really equates to this fear of rejection. And so it's the biggest thing that holds people back from literally every single person I meet. I tell what I do. I'm always future pacing. I'm always like, even in this interview, I've been like, oh yeah, I have a mastermind. I do coaching, because every single person I talk to knows what I do. If you want to learn social media marketing and branding, if you want to make more money in your business, if you want to grow your online presence, you come to Brittany Michael Chuck. She is the social media queen. And the reason why I'm so passionate about this is because it's having this fearlessness. It's having this confidence in who you are to be able to go on the mountaintop and sing it and be like, guys, this is what I do, is having pride in what you do. I really think, and this could go off on a completely other topic, but having integrity, knowing that you are working in integrity. And so you can be very confident when you talk about what you do. But how do people break through this fear of rejection? How do people break through this fear of being like, I want to tell people about what I do, but I'm scared. I get nervous about it and I just don't.
Yeah. And I see that in the new salespeople that we bring in the office. Right. And so, there was a young girl that we just recently brought into our sales department, and she was really scared at first and very nervous. And, but wow, she's our top salesperson now, but she was nervous 3 weeks ago, and now she's our top salesperson.
Wow.
And really all she did was she just got smart quick. She decided to commit. She just committed to learning. She committed to getting the information, and I would just watch her every day, just get a little bit better and a little bit more confident.
Wow.
And the accountability from our management team is we keep pushing them to make the call. You're scared. No, don't walk outside, because you're nervous of how people are going to perceive that phone call. You're going to make the call right here, right now. We're going to toughen it up. And so it's in the action, and it's in that massive repetitive action you talk about. It's in the constant repeating over and over, taking the action step, and then that builds the confidence. And so we're just pushing our salespeople. We're pushing us to keep going. Yes, it's you hear, I believe it's Garrett White. He has this thing where you're going to suck now, but you're going to suck less later. I think that's kind of cool.
I love that. Suck
Yeah,
now, suck
yeah,
less later.
yeah. He says that a lot on his content. He says you're going to suck now. Later on, you're going to suck less, and then you're just going to plain suck after that. And then
I
after you,
love that. That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
That
and then
should be
after
our title.
that's
How
so
to
cool, isn't
suck
it?
now, but suck less later.
Yeah. So then when you go to after you're at suck, and then you go to like decent, and then you go from decent to good and good to great. It's a progressive timeline to greatness. It takes time, right? And so I just saw this, and it happened so quick, but she did take the action. She broke through the fear by just doing it and saying, you know what, I got to make the call. I got to do it. I got to start making these calls. I got to say these tough things. I have to deal with the rejection. But look, it only gets better. Get the rejection over with. This is what I would say. If you're scared and you have fear of rejection, then dive in, get the rejection, start failing right away, fail quicker, fail faster, and then it's just going to get easier, and you're going to get better as you go. And it's kind of like the same thing with me getting into the coaching side, which I've always had a passion for. But I was like, oh, I don't know when. I'm stalling because there's a fear there that is it going to work? Are people going to watch my coaching? Are they going to even care? Is it going to come out good? And I just said, and I decided when we opened the Flip Boss Academy last year when we had our
What's
first
the website?
flipboss.com. So yeah, anybody wants to check it out. I'm not offering any courses for sale right now. I don't have any boot camps going on. That's a plan we had a boot camp last year. We're going to have another boot camp and an online course. Just that's how I learned it.
But they can give you the information and get notified when they do
Yeah.
have
Punch
something.
in anybody that has interest in checking it out. Just type in your email there and I'll give them updates. Updates will be coming soon. So, but no, I'm not selling anything just yet. But it's really cool. I'm going to teach people how to flip real estate and make seven figures and this whole thing. It's a really cool thing, and I'm doing it for
Cool.
passion. It's my passion because I just love to help people because it just gives me a high. It's like my drug is just like seeing people like super pumped
Mm,
that they made
I feel
money or
you.
or super pumped that they learned something and they saw the light and it's like whoa wow that's powerful. Like I love that's my passion thing. So, but I would say also to add to that is taking that action and breaking past the fear. And, the whole thing, like with me starting the coaching business, that actually made me, that commitment that I made to do it actually made me commit more to my work.
Yeah.
It made me commit more to my business. And I would just say, stay focused on when you have the desire and it burns in your heart and it's something that you want to do,
Yeah.
make a decision to be the best that you absolutely can be at it. Because when
I
you
love
make that,
that.
yeah, when you pull that trigger to really try to be the best, to be the go-to person in your field,
Yeah.
you're gonna become great. It's only a matter of time. You will become great at what you do if you take that action and you commit to going all the way and commit to being great. You will be great.
I love that. That's so powerful. And so it is a, by the way, listeners, we should tell you how this happened. It's Friday at 8:30 p.m. And I literally was watching a course on marketing because I'm building my PowerPoint for my mastermind call on Wednesday. We do a call every single Wednesday. And I was we were chatting on Instagram and you messaged me. I'm like, hey, what are you doing right now? Do you want to jump on a podcast right now? And you're like, yo, I sent you the Zoom link, and you're like, I'm gonna be on it. Literally
I'm
two
on it.
seconds later, we were like, oh, let's go. But yeah, that's it. It's taking that action, and it's like, we could have been like, oh, like I'm tired, or it's like really last minute, like it's Friday
I
at
know.
8:30,
It's
like
10:30 for me.
yeah,
It's
right.
10:30 because I'm on Eastern time.
Oh yeah, that's crazy. I didn't know you were on Eastern time. But yeah, it's like it's taking that action, you guys, and it's like it's figuring out your goals and it's figuring out what you want to do, and it's just it's taking that one step closer to building that successful life. So to wrap this up, what tips do you have for real estate investing?
Well, in real estate investing, I will tell you that if you're just getting started, and I'm going to kind of throw this out there because I've been thinking about this a lot. There's a lot of gurus out there. There's so many real estate gurus. It's one of the reasons why I'm like, I'm not going to sell anything for a while because there's just like 8 trillion. Every time I go onto Instagram and I scroll real estate investor course, by all these different people. And
Yeah.
so I'm like, man, I'm getting tired of seeing that myself. So I'm like, I don't think I want to sell anything while I'm tired of seeing that. So, but here's what I will say. And I did learn from an online course. Full disclosure, I literally bought a $1,500 online course like 6 years ago. Okay, because this kind of all of this has happened really in the last 5 years. The whole real estate venture.
Yeah.
But I bought an online course for $1,500 and I learned it. And then the real experience is when I got started. When I got started doing it, that's how I really learned. But that gave me a head start. So I would say, as far as real estate, there's a lot of gurus that are out there trying to raise money, and they're going to ask you for money to put into their project, and they'll give you a return on that money. And I will say to you, you can learn this on your own. You could even on you there's so many courses, there's a lot of free content. I'm not trying to not sell my course next year, don't get me wrong. I'm going to
Yeah.
give some really good content, when I do sell it. I can promise you that you'll get the value out of it, plus you'll have access to me, so it'll be worth it. But like on YouTube, you can get, there's so much information on flipping real estate. But what I would say is don't give your money to a investor that's going to take your money and invest it into his project. Rather, if you're just first getting started, learn how to flip wholesale first, because you can do it with no money.
Yeah.
And once you start flipping wholesale first, then you'll start to get into other areas of renovation, fix and flip, buying rent and hold properties, multifamily projects, apartment build. My first deal actually ended up being a sixplex that I did really well. Actually, my very first deal, I got the seller to do the financing,
Mm-hmm.
and I got a private money friend to fund the down payment. That was a
Yeah.
whole other like cool freaking story, maybe for another time. But I got my friend to who was the one friend that I had that had money. Everyone else didn't have any money, but he funded the down payment. He was actually going to be a partner, but when he walked the property, he's like, I don't know if I want to be a slumlord. So he said, but I'll loan you the money. So he lent me the money at 0 interest for a year, which was awesome. And I got the seller to finance the balance. It was like a $330,000 sixplex, which is kind of cheap. It's worth a lot more now. And started with flipped it for, well, I rented it out for about 12 months. I was collecting net $2,200 a month in net cash flow after all expenses, which was really good for your first deal, and no money out of pocket. I did
Wow.
eventually come out of pocket and renovated one of the units. And then I flipped it on like the 13th month and made $89,000. And that was my first
Wow.
deal. Yeah, that was my first deal. So when I
And you
went,
what made is 500 million?
I'm sorry. I have 500 million in real estate. I have in sales. That's my sales experience. Which
Wow.
I got.
500 million
Yeah,
in
and I got
sales in
60.
real estate.
Yeah, I got 60 million in flips. I've done 60 million in flips over the last about 4 and change years. And I've also raised some really, just like when you first get in wholesale, it's a really good way to start. And once you start flipping, you're going to learn different strategies. You're going to do, like I said, you're going to do some seller financing deals, even though that was my first deal. So I broke in pretty cool and I did really well. But once that was an epiphany for me. When I flipped it and I made 89, I wasn't expecting to make that much money. I didn't know what I was going to make. I was brand new. I was just figuring it out. But I said, we're going to do it. And we just did it. And when I made that check, I was like, whoa, game changer. And then I quit the luxury car dealership business. So, that was it for me. When that happened, I'm like, man, I got to figure this out. And that's when I took the online course. After I did that, I said, I'm going to learn everything I can about this business, and I'm going to flip properties and invest in real estate. And I'm going to do it full time and whatever it takes. And I'm not going to go into a corporate boardroom meeting and listen to this BS anymore, because that's what it was for me. The car business kind of turned into BS for me. It was just so much corporate crap and promises and lies and
Yeah.
this and that. So I wanted out. So, I don't know if I answered the question, but yeah, that's kind of what happened on that first deal. And I would say, yeah, anyone that wants to invest, start with wholesale, jump on flipboss.com and they can follow me. And I answer questions all the time that I get DM in regards to real estate flipping. So if they follow me at the Real Flip Boss, then I'll gladly answer any of your followers' questions or anything like that for nothing.
Cool. Guys, if you guys enjoy this episode, please take a screenshot, tag me, tag Craig. His Instagram is The Real Flip Boss. Go hit him up in the DM, send him a message, show him some love, like his photos. And thank you so much for being here on this beautiful Friday evening. Your time is so valuable. I appreciate your time. And thank you for sharing so much knowledge, inspiration, and practical steps and tips that people can do to make more money and to go from $8 an hour to doing over 560 million in real estate sales. So that is inspiring and it's absolutely amazing. And thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Brittany. It was my pleasure. Appreciate it.
Awesome, guys. Please make sure you rate, review, and subscribe. We are both volunteering our time to help you in your life. It is our greatest passion. It is my pride and joy in life, is helping you achieve success and happiness. And all of my guests are volunteers as well. And so please go and show them some love on social media. Again, rate, review, and subscribe. That is how we grow this mission and positively change the world. So I'm so happy you guys are on this movement with us, and we're going to go out there and make a massive dent in this world. So let's go, team. If you guys are interested in joining my mastermind, please send me a message on Instagram at Brittany Michaelchuk. Would love to welcome you into our family, and we will see you on the next episode of The Vitamin B Show.